The media are back at it again with regards to Reece James. And as we all know, during the international break, there are news coming left, right, and centre when it comes to things being Chelsea. We've got Cole Palmer apparently going back to Manchester City for 150 million. But more important, well, I'll say more importantly, doesn't get much more important than that. But the return of Reece James to full fitness, apparently, allegedly, or from what we've been told, leaves, of course, a lot of questions. And the number one question is around a tweet that was posted regarding Reece James's future. And that is that, well, they're back at it again. Chelsea's right back Reece James is exploring through his representatives and the possibility of joining Barcelona or Benfica for health reasons. And I mean, in a matter of hours or even a day or so, Fabrizio has done the Lord's work for the first time in a while, and that is breaking the news that he is still fully focused on Chelsea. But it really raises the questions, doesn't it? Because you've got a lot of people saying, you know, I'll deactivate my account if this geezer actually plays 5 games without an injury, or Reece James has never played, you know, more than X amount of, he hasn't been fit in 500 or whatever it is. It raises the questions, and it really does. I know I've had what I've had to say about it in the past, but these types of opportunities will arise for Reece James, and for me, I wouldn't question his loyalty. I wouldn't necessarily be angry at him should he actually choose to go for an alternative that you deep dive into the reasons that this was tweeted or that this was brought to light. And that is that going to a hotter climate, going to a slower paced league would allow for Reece James to have a longer and maybe not as fruitful a career, but a more regularly involved career. And let's be honest, Reece James, I mean, let's look through the injuries here. They are damning. They are so worrying to the point where even your biggest fans like myself and other people who are just like, Reece James is the king of Stamford Bridge at the moment in terms, I mean, you could debate who you think, but in terms of who is Mr. Chelsea, who is the captain, he is. Who is Mr. Chelsea? It is Reece James. But the fact of the matter is, he's never about, I mean, look at those 66 days and 151 days, 54, 56 days. It's absolutely ridiculous. But we know this already. This is nothing new. Because this has been going on for so long, the question is now, how much longer, not only can we put up with this, or should we put up with this to a degree where it's like, come on now, come on. We've had the debates of you know, who our next captain is likely to be. Enzo Fernandez, for many people, is the man. A lot of people don't think he's the man. I don't think Enzo's the man. But obviously, when Reece James is fit or not suspended, you would argue that Reece James is, of course, the man. But he's never around. So it's a vicious cycle. It truly is a vicious cycle that we just find ourselves over and over again debating. It gets to this point, and it's all well and good. It's all well and good that Reece James is back fit and in training, but we've had news that he's been back in training in the past, and then he hasn't come back to actually play because he's gotten injured in training. There's been that degree of injury concerns with Reece James that even when he returns to training, injuries come about. We were supposed to have him back like a month ago, a month and a half ago. He was meant to be back, if I'm not mistaken. He was meant to be back for the beginning of this last period when the international break last happened. Not this one, but the last one. He was meant to be back in time for that, alongside Romeo Lavia, who, again, you know, he's had his problems, but I mean, Jesus. It really, I saw this, and a lot of people probably thought, fuck off. Like, no, he's not entertaining that. Or this is just bullshit. And even if it is, I don't think it is the worst idea in the world for his perspective, from his standpoint. Yes, of course, he will want to and wish to continue and see out his entire career at Chelsea, no doubt. I'm not questioning that. I am not questioning his loyalty. There is no loyalty involved in this. This isn't down to loyalty. This is down to his right to play, his demand to play, and his ability to play. We know he can do it. We know he's easily one of the best right backs in the world on his day. But again, those days, very far and few between, or few and far between. So if he's given this, I mean, linking him to Barcelona is an issue in and of itself, because injuries there are just as likely to happen there, and also the up and down of whether or not, you know, this, that, or anything else is happening with contracts or sponsors, everything. They're as much of a shit show as we've been over the last few years. It's got to be said. But I'm not just saying these clubs in particular. The opportunity arises if he jumps at that and he's like, listen, this is why. I'd be sad because it hasn't worked out for him. But I would be able to understand it. I would totally understand the mindset, the vision that he's got behind this, or his representatives have provided him. Now, obviously, Reece James in training today, as sources play down all links with Barca and Benfica on UK media in recent days, the full focus being on Chelsea. That, again, there's never any doubt as to his focus. The main focus should be on staying fit. But the fact of the matter is, surely his focus should be on being fit and playing football, not just for Chelsea, but just as a whole. The guy's career is hanging on by a thread. It really is. And I know people be like, this is harsh. You know, you shouldn't be. If you think the conversation is still harsh after the amount that we've had to put up with, not just us, but him as well. But the poor bloke just can't play football. We are being absolutely deprived of one of the greatest talents in defensive positioning in the modern day due to injury. And we've seen this with players in the past in all positions that they've been their careers been detrimental due to injury. But what I'm trying to say is here that I know a lot of people, this got up their nose and they were upset and they thought, you know, this has got to be bullshit. And whilst it may well be, the fact of the matter is, I looked at this and thought, if the opportunity arises and he goes for it, I wouldn't be upset. The only time I'd be annoyed is if he ended up actually still going and staying in a Premier League club, which it would never happen. It just wouldn't happen. But from my thought process, and it's been a day or so since this came out, the transfer, obviously the source, it doesn't matter who the source is. It doesn't matter what the teams are that he's linked with, but the reasoning behind it, the climate change or the climate difference, the slower paced leagues, it would allow for Reece James to play more regularly. Now, obviously, if we were to put in a contract that we could have a buyback clause, all that sort of stuff, and then he gets regular more games, he's never going to take a loan. So he would obviously have to be transferred, and that is where this would come from. But the idea isn't as crazy as a lot of people seem to make it out to be. Do we want it to happen? Absolutely not. Do we want Reece James to be a fully fit player and playing for Chelsea for years to come, for the rest of his career? Absolutely. But I'm just saying, if this comes about, it really wouldn't be too much of a surprise or one to really crazily wrap your head around. With that said, hopefully now, with him back fit and ready to play, hopefully we can put this all behind us. This isn't a concern. It will be, let's be honest. I'm hoping it's not. I'm fucking hoping it's not. I hope we get to see Reece James play. But I'm at the point now as well, I see him return to training. It doesn't move me anymore. I don't get excited anymore because we know this. We know the story. We know how this goes. And fuck me, I want to be proven wrong. But again, we know we know the ending here. We know that we know the storyline. We know how this goes. With that said, let me know your thoughts on this situation in the comments down below. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell notification to be notified of any future content on the channel. My name is Harry, up the Chels, and peace.